show you this garden because I made it just last year, and it employs all the methods that I often talk about, using native ground covers, um, identifying natives in your landscape that are there already and working around them and nurturing them, and then planting strategically when you have deer and other mammal herbivores to really still ensure you have a lush garden for everyone, including them. So in this area, what I found was quite a lot of eastern woodland sedge and violets. And then I also found plants like this cinnamon willow herb, which was new to me. And there was just one. I looked it up and I figured out what it was, Epilobium coloratum. It has these tiny pink flowers. Caterpillars eat the leaves and little bees go to the flowers. And it spread. I spot mulched around the natives like this, and then I planted more natives from pathways, such as this common evening primrose that you see here. Here you see another one. Here's one in flower. These typically get really tall, but when I have them here toward the edge of the pathway, the deer eat them in the spring, but they eat them down about half. And then these flowers are small right on the edge of the pathway, so they're actually doing me a favor there. And the eastern woodland sedge, they were all over, I realized. And this is a native sedge that just came in on its own, Carex blanda. Three-seeded mercury, that's another wonderful native. People usually pull it, but it makes a nice ground cover. It's very pretty. It has inconspicuous flowers, but there's beetles and other animals that go to it. I moved all the blue mistflower from the pathway. Anything that my friends brought me in the fall, like this cardinal flower, my friends from Atkins Arboretum brought me some of that. I put it in there. Rebecca triloba, the brown-eyed Susan over there, is a plant that I had bought in plugs, and I planted some back here. It's really the only one that I bought, that and purple lovegrass. And so this garden, making this whole garden, was pretty much a free endeavor. These plants are wild bergamot that I moved from pathways. They had volunteered outside of other gardens, and so it was really easy for me to just dig up the little seedlings, and look how big they are this year. Same with the boneset. This is just a pollinator bonanza here, as you can imagine, and those two plants are ones that deer don't actually prefer because they're scented. Same with blue mistflower. So we have this blue mistflower they don't really like because it's coarse leaved or a little bit scented, and here it is right next to the primrose that they do like. I leave the horseweed because the deer nibble that down, and it comes back anyway, and it actually feeds lots of little pollinators. You just have to look up close because usually they're quite small. This is elephant's foot, not open yet this morning. It makes the prettiest little purple flowers, and it's a great ground cover. I'll show you that in a minute, how it spreads. And so this is an area that was a little older. There's goldenrods are about to bloom, but I added the Solidaga odora, which is going to seed now, last year, and that's scented, so it smells like licorice. And anise scented goldenrod is the common name. Oh my gosh, and it blooms early. It's so pretty, and it looks really nice with this wild basil, which is a native. You can actually eat that, but I haven't eaten it yet, but the sulfur butterflies certainly like to eat it. They come to these little pink flowers. You can see here, this is swamp sunflower, and it got nibbled just recently. This is a very tall plant usually, but it seeded in on the border. I think I moved some to the border too, knowing it would be nibbled a bit, but then it would be a short swamp sunflower. So I'll show you over here how that actually looks when it's a bit shorter. This is when it's in bud, it's usually a few feet taller than it is now right here, and that's because it got nibbled earlier in the summer. But as you can see, it's sort of protected here by this American burnweed. The deer don't see it as much. I leave this because it's also native. People think, oh, that's a weird plant, you know, and they pull it. But it's actually so cool because the deer will eat it a little bit down, and then it'll be shorter, and then it'll kind of form this little barrier for the plants that you don't want them to eat. And it looks great. I mean, the thing about these plants is that when they come up by themselves in a garden, some of these natives people tend to think of as weeds. They'll think, oh my gosh, that's so out of place. But when they're mixed in with other natives and they're just allowed to sort of come into their own, you can see here, this is American burnweed and pokeweed together, and tulip poplar. I let all these plants, black raspberry, grow around this ash that was slowly dying, and so they've been keeping this ash tree company all this time, and it's like a little mini forest right here next to the table. And so this is more boneset, which is filled with pollinators later in the day, and ironweed and blue mist flowers, some more goldenrod. There's Joe Pye back there that's going to seed. The purple lovegrass patch, which is just this wonderful grass. It's past its prime now, but it was it's really purpley and beautiful, catches the rain. You can see how it fills the space quite nicely too. And sumac, staghorn sumac, coming in here, and I let it volunteer. Now that usually will get nibbled too when it's out in the open like that until it reaches a certain stage, but obviously it has not been found yet, and probably won't be for a while because it's so protected by these other plants. Plants protecting plants. What else did I want to show you? Back here is just an area where I planted some Virginia roses in here. You can't see them yet. Some Maryland senna, some woodland sunflower, some yellow wing stem, or yellow ironweed rather they call it. But it's actually wing stem. It's that plant there. That is a lovely plant for these. Oop, my finger is in the way, sorry. And this is beauty berries that I put on the edge. And lots of sedges over there holding up the hill, and the pokeweed the catbirds are going crazy for and guarding. And this is an area I'm working on now. So this is what the other area looked like. And this is all nimblewell, which is a native grass. Used to be all stiltgrass here, so you can see the violets and the nimblewell and the little morning spider webs. And here's a bigger example of the elephant's foot, which you know, you get some in here, it covers the ground completely. It's a very, very cool plant. More nimblewell and burnweed and sugar plume. I always forget if this is sugar plume grass or sugar cane plume grass, something like that, but it's a native grass my friend gave me last year. And so this is an area that I'll be working on, or I am working on more, and you can see all this American burnweed and how pretty it is. It's just allowed to come up and come into its own. So that is my tour. I hope you enjoyed, and haven't had much time to do some writing on my site. I've been doing other writing lately, and so I just wanted to give you a flavor of what is going on in the garden. One more thing, actually. I have to show you over here, just because this is that patch of elephant's foot. You can see all those little tiny purple flowers, how much it covers that slope. What a great plant, right? And so now this will be the end of the tour. You can see the full view, what I come out to see in the morning. Have a lovely holiday weekend.